There are plenty of SSD enclosures on the market that can turn a normal M2 SSD into a versatile external hard drive. These range in price from super affordable options that do the bare minimum up to something like the Dockcase Smart SSD Enclosure that goes way beyond the norm for those who like to keep close tabs on their drive's vital stats. Drive enclosures generally just cover your drive, providing a more familiar port to use alongside your computer gear, while guaranteeing your data will be physically safe from electrostatic shock. Some are more ruggedized, protecting them from falls and impacts. The Dockcase Explorer Edition is a little different. It's a sleek and smart M2 NVMe SSD enclosure, providing high-speed data transfer, although with an added bit of data protection that most enclosures don't have. It's well sized too, measuring in at 5 inches long, although still weighing in at just under 100 grams, so easy enough to carry around with you as well. Taking a closer look, we have a very robust aluminum alloy enclosure here that certainly feels premium in the hand. One side is covered entirely with a heatsink, helping to keep the SSD drive inside running cool, while on the opposite side we have a stylish see-through design protected by a layer of tough Gorilla Glass. It actually looks really good, kind of futuristic, and it's here that we see the first of two important features, a screen in the center that can show in-depth details about the SSD that's installed inside. More on that shortly. Otherwise, we find two USB-C ports on the outside, one used for data transfer at USB 3.2 Gen 2 10 gigabits per second speeds, and the second used to supply secondary 15-watt auxiliary power should the main host not provide enough through the first port. A nice added touch. Further along we find a single button used to cycle through the different menu pages. Again, we'll come back to that shortly. So while it's quite a stylish design which can survive a fall from your pocket with its glass casing and aluminum frame, the enclosure may not be the best choice for rough conditions and should ideally be kept in a secure place in your pocket or bag. For now though, the second important feature is on the inside. Just like other enclosures, the Dockcase Explorer doesn't come pre-installed with an NVMe SSD, so you'll need to provide your own. I'm using a Samsung 980 Pro in this example, and fortunately installation is a straightforward affair, involving removing the single screw on the heatsink side of the device. You'll even receive all required tools in the package, along with a few spare parts. But with the screw released, the heatsink can be removed from the device completely. It's here we notice the second important feature. Visible inside the body is a supercapacitor that holds a charge to keep the SSD powered for up to 10 seconds in case of power loss. Almost like a mini UPS power backup of sorts. Should power to the device be cut, this capacitor will provide up to 10 seconds of power to safely finish the current read or write process from its cache before shutting down the SSD. A neat little touch. Nevertheless, the drive slots inside relatively easily before being secured into position and covered with the heatsink before reinstalling the single screw that holds everything together, and with that, drive installation is complete. So, just like other enclosures, it's as simple as connecting to your host device via the USB-C cable that's included in the package. Note that when connecting to some host systems, such as some smartphones for instance, the drive may not receive enough power to operate. Hence the secondary USB-C port on the side, which can be used to feed an extra 15 watts of external power into the device. Either way, plugging in the enclosure reveals what makes it stand out, its 1.3-inch screen. When in standby, the home screen displays whether the power loss protection capacitor is charged, which it does gradually charge within the first few minutes of connection. Details of the SSD model currently installed, the remaining life of the SSD, and the amount of data that has been read or written to the drive since it was last powered on. When you start accessing the drive, a new screen automatically pops up to show you the read-write speed, data read and written this power session, and the total amount of data read or written over the life of the drive. A quick double tap of the side button provides the ability to flip which way you want the data displayed, making sure it's facing the right way irrespective of drive orientation. Beyond these, there are several screens accessible by holding the small button on the side. The first provides far more detailed smart data from the SSD, while the second lets you adjust the settings of the Dockcase enclosure itself. You can enable read-only mode, change the wallpaper duration, change language, and a few more options. In my use, I've not really had any need to change any of these settings, but I can certainly imagine a few instances where the built-in read-only mode could come in handy. Nevertheless, the next screen offers graphs of the drive's temperature and input voltage, while the final screen allows you to upgrade the enclosure's firmware and other such debugging tasks. With support up to 10 gigabits per second via its USB 3.2 Gen 2 interface, the drive provides great overall performance. Of course, it's not up to par with some of the Thunderbolt enclosures we've tested in the past, but it still provides some respectable speeds from a USB-C connection, pushing the interface to its limits. Yes, there are other enclosures that cost half as much and perform just as well, but then they don't carry all the health and status information, or that power backup either. So it comes down to what's more important for you, raw speed or drive health and safety. During a break in the connection, for instance, you can rest assured the drive's cache will be safely written to the drive before shutdown, making sure your SSD is safe at all times. In summary then, as for the overall design, the Dockcase enclosure is a flashy but manageable device. It stands out with its glass casing, accompanying screen, futuristic detailing, good performance, and its small size, all while being convenient enough to fit in your pocket. On the other hand, however, there are plenty of other portable M2 SSD enclosures available, which are not only good performers but much more affordable too. Although saying that, they don't offer the same protection as the Dockcase enclosure does. They're also not as sleek, so if protecting your data is an extra priority, it might be worth it to spend a little bit more on the Dockcase Explorer Edition Smart SSD enclosure.